Hi, my name is Michael Kiefer. I'm an instructional technology specialist in Madison. I also teach a course called the Independent Project, and I'm also a facilitator of the FAB Lab, our new makerspace that is there to support the Independent Project. We introduced the Independent Project on day one with the purpose of the course. And for students, that is to show mastery in our profile of graduate capacities. We look at a lot of different examples from the past, and we have a lot of discussions around the kind of experience students want to get out of the course. So they can design their learning around a passion project. It could be a future area of study that they're interested in or a possible career. They could also focus on a hobby or something they've always been interested in, or content around a course that they just didn't have time to fit into their schedule. So once they decide what they want their experience to be like, it starts with a project proposal. So students propose in writing to the teacher what they want their project to look like, what those learning goals are. It begins with an essential question or idea or a problem that they'd like to explore. And from there, they identify their learning goals, which includes conceiving of a product that has a target audience in mind and deciding what kind of impact they want their products to have on that audience. Then they come up with a plan. We have them fill out a timeline of action steps that they think will get them to their end product goals, which we then revisit throughout the trimester. The role of the teacher is very different from any course that we teach in the school. So content knowledge is not necessary for the teacher, but what they do need to bring to the table is knowledge on how to teach students how to learn independently, which often means directing them toward reliable resources. For that, we rely on our library media specialists to help students identify good resources, but we try to get them to identify the experts in their chosen content area and to find resources that will help them fulfill their project goals. The teacher also spends a considerable amount of time helping them refine their learning plan, their timeline. So every week, the teacher meets with the students at least twice for short conferences to see how their progress is. They look at any struggles that the students are having at that point, and they identify ways they can overcome those challenges. So it might mean, trying a different tack, a new approach, gathering more resources, trying out different strategies, and trying to also find the help that they need. So they might rely on a community expert, or we might even have a staff member in the building who can help them move their project ideas forward. But once students refine that plan, then they're on their own again and trying to figure everything out as they go. One of the things that we got for feedback when we piloted this course years ago, before it was a requirement, was that we should never assign a letter grade to it. Students told us that if we did that, then they would basically try to figure out how to earn the A. They wouldn't take risks. And so we want students to take a lot of risks as they develop their projects. We want them to be comfortable with failure. And so the only way we can ensure that they took those risks is if we didn't grade it. So it's pass-fail. But in terms of how do we assess that pass-fail, what we grade is not necessarily the content that they've gained, but how they got there, how they developed that end product. And so we really assess the capacities. So we assess 7 out of the 10 capacities. We don't assess citizenship because their product does not have to have that component. It also does not need to have a collaboration component. Often they're working solo. And we also don't require that they have an alternate perspective component. But what we do to assess their work is we have a documentation website where they keep track of their learning. We have them provide evidence of capacities explicitly, through writing. So the teacher conducts mini lessons about what analyzing looks like in different, project scenarios. So they might be analyzing strategies, they might be analyzing information they've gathered. We also teach explicit lessons about inquiry, about self-awareness, and they need to provide us in writing with proof that they are developing that skill or that capacity. We also look at their final product. That final product gets assessed on a rubric that requires students at a bare minimum to be approaching professional standards for that product that they're creating. Because they're not creating something in a vacuum. There's always some sort of model that they could be shooting for. And so we assess the product creation. We also assess the design process that they use. And a lot of the assessment of the profile of graduate capacities comes out not just in formal writing assignments, but also in the conferences that teachers have regularly with students. And when you have those conferences with students, you can tell immediately whether or not they're doing meaningful work in the growth of those capacities.